Well, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the G20 Africa Summit ended in Berlin today. What was the outcome?
Well, yes, that's right, Simpiwe. The G20 Summit, the Africa Summit, did, of course, end today, and we are also beginning to see most African leaders heading out of Berlin here at the Tegel Airport. And, of course, this comes after a very productive day for most of the African leaders, and specifically for President Cyril Ramaphosa. We, of course, saw him this morning engaging with businesses here in Germany, trying to drive investment, as we know that President Cyril Ramaphosa is, of course, trying to get investors to invest about 100 billion rand in South Africa by the next 5 years. And of course, with him, doing this investment campaign, we do know that Germany and South Africa have got very strong trade relationships. And this is something that he lauded once he had the business meeting much earlier on today. But, Simpiwe, I must say that we also saw President Cyril Ramaphosa addressing this specific summit, and this is where he thanked most of the African leaders who decided to participate in this specific summit. We do know that South Africa is currently the only African country that forms part of a group of 20 developing and developed nations. So it has been a very productive day from the South African perspective side. Right now, just after things wrapped up, we did also see President Cyril Ramaphosa engaging once more with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, just having talks on bilateral talks, trade relationships between South Africa and Germany.
Now, 12 heads of state from the various African countries attended that summit. What was the significance of these African countries attending it?
Well, the significance of African countries attending this specific summit was to sort of drive investors to start investing in the rest of the African continent. And this is where they were given a platform to sort of advertise their countries and just tell the German business leaders why it's so important and why should their countries be a destination point where these African countries, the German businesses can, of course, drive investments. We do know that currently in South Africa, we have about 600 companies which are German companies, and they employ about 100,000 people in South Africa. And as South Africa and the rest of Africa continues to face challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality, as more investors come into the country, these are sort of the problems that these investors can sort of address and alleviate the government in trying to better the situation in the country.
And what sort of commitments have some German businesses made into the African countries?
Well, there was a number of commitments that the German companies made, but one stands out in particular, Simpiwe, is, of course, the investment made by Siemens into the country Togo. They've committed themselves into building a plant where it will help in the electrifying of the residents, people of Togo, rather. We've also seen Siemens also committing themselves to electrify about 30 villages based in Senegal. And Siemens is also one of the companies that President Cyril Ramaphosa did have a meeting with. We are hoping to ask people in the presidency in terms of what was discussed in that specific meeting, because I'm sure coming out of that meeting, it will be something that will be of key significance, especially in South Africa. So that's something that we should really be looking out for. But most African countries have held this as a success. They're saying that they've now allowed their businesses in, their countries, saying that they are, of course, open for a business with this European giant.
Now, Mbali, South Africa being the only country in the G20 forum, are we likely to see other African countries mobilizing and leveraging South Africa's position in the G20 to take ownership of the African agenda and pushing that African agenda on an international platform?
Well, Simpiwe, I suppose such platforms are just making way for more African countries to begin to start joining this group of 20, because, I mean, it does sort of help in terms of driving investments within South Africa and the rest of the other countries as well, the other African countries, which is of key significance and key importance for that more African countries begin to come in and also get in with investment purposes into the rest of Africa. So this is something, it is a stepping stone in terms of leading up to more investments in the rest of Africa and, of course, in particular in South Africa.
All right, Mbali, thank you so much for your update. That was our reporter Mbali Thethani joining us live from Berlin in Germany, where the G20 Africa Summit has just ended. This is The Globe on SABC News. We'll have more news after the break.